Our discussion on Indian Constitution and its features, I would like to pick up a particular topic which I would like to call it as the salient features of our Indian Constitution. The salient features of the Indian Constitution. See, when we talk about the salient features, we are talking about the highlights. So, if we have to talk about say 5 big obvious things about the Constitution of India. So, what all can be termed as the major features, salient features, that is what we are talking. Now, in fact, when you look at the salient features, the most obvious, say for example, the nature of the Indian Constitution, I have already discussed in another video. Nature of the Indian Constitution is federal in nature or a quasi-federal constitution. A quasi-federal constitution. So, one salient feature is a quasi-federal constitution with a lot of powers, extra powers with the center and comparatively less powers with the states. In extraordinary circumstances, in certain circumstances, the states become subordinate to the center. This is one of the salient features of the Indian Constitution. So, constitution makers call Indian Constitution as federal, but independent experts refuse to accept it as completely federal. Independent experts call it as quasi-federal, because it is the states become subordinate to the center in extraordinary circumstances. So, that is the first salient feature, the most important salient feature of our Indian Constitution. The second salient feature is, this is one of the most elaborate constitutions in the world. Originally, it had 395 articles, 22 parts and 8 schedules. So, right now it may have, many articles were added, some of them were deleted. So, maybe more than 440 articles. So, according to some, we may have 440 plus articles right now. Then many parts added, subtracted, I am not getting into that, and now 12 schedules are there, and it is one of the bulkiest of the constitutions in the world, one of the largest of the constitutions in the world. There are many factors for this bulkiness. Now, many a times even there can be a sub question in this, when you talk about silent features, why this constitution is so bulky, or what are the reasons for the bulkiness of Indian Constitution. So, let me just talk about that also, the reasons for the bulkiness. Number one, it is the framers of the Constitution had the experience or gained the experience of the working of all the known constitutions at that time, all the available constitutions, democratic constitutions at that time. They studied all of them. They tried to incorporate all the good things from those constitutions. So, we wanted the best from every constitution. So, the framers had the experience of the, or gained the experience of the working of all known constitutions at that time. So, they used that experience, they used that understanding for bringing in the best of the features, best of the qualities into our Indian Constitution. So, when we added from many areas, we have taken from UK, when the British system, we have taken from the American system, we have taken from the Canadian system, Australian system, Irish system, German. So, name any major constitution at that time. We tried to take from every constitution. That is one reason why it became bulky. Then, for the welfare of and the autonomy of the certain region, especially the tribal areas, we have a 5th schedule, we have a 6th schedule in the Indian Constitution only for the welfare and autonomy of the tribal communities. India is such a vast country, more than 750 different tribal communities which are listed as, which have been identified as the scheduled tribes of the country. So, we have special features for them, special provisions for them. And another big factor why the constitution became bulky is, unlike in the US and the Australian constitution, we do not have a separate constitution for the states. No separate constitution for the states. The states' constitution are also included in the main constitution. And not only that, we have even incorporated the Panchayati Raj. We have even incorporated the provisions for the panchayats and the municipalities, even in the local self-government provisions, especially the 73rd Amendment Act, 74th Amendment Act. 73rd, 74th Amendment Act, we added detailed provisions for local self-government in the main constitution itself, unlike in US, Australian, etc., where only the federal constitution is there. The state's constitution is not included into the main constitution. So, it is also another reason for bulkiness. We have special provisions for another reason for bulkiness, special provisions for backward classes, special provisions for minorities, backward classes, even minorities. So, when we added provisions for them, again it got widened and became bigger. Then we have the most elaborate of all the fundamental rights in the world, most elaborate fundamental rights, which is part of the constitution, which is very important. We need it because that is the protection for the citizens as far as their rights are concerned. Most elaborate fundamental rights, not only fundamental rights, even we have included something called directive principles of state policy. The directives to the states for the welfare of the people. We have added the directive principles, we have added the fundamental duties in the Indian Constitution. In fact, one of the rarest of the democratic constitutions where fundamental duties are also mentioned in the main constitution itself. Normally, no established democracy has fundamental duties, but we have provisions for fundamental duties. And as I repeatedly said, the vastness of the country and the diversity of the country is a big factor, the vastness and diversity. We have, a continental proposition. The size of the country is a subcontinent. We are an Indian subcontinent. And so, it is quite vast and the diversity is so large. We have hundreds of languages, thousands of cultures. So, we wanted to provide enough provisions for all these diverse communities. So that is why we have added so many provisions for incorporating, or rather to make sure that the people, even in the remotest of the places, have something in this constitution. And most importantly, one more point I would like to add here is, the constitution makers even added the detailed provisions relating to the exercise of the executive power. The detailed provisions for the exercise of the executive power is given in the main constitution itself, because the framers of the constitution, the members of the Constituent Assembly were not sure about how the executives will behave after some time. They did not know whether the executives are that democratic or not. So, they wanted to ensure that even the details, that the procedural details are given, administrative details were given, so that these executives will follow the democratic principles properly. So, when we added the details of the, related to the exercise of executive power, administrative power is given, constitution became all the more, bulky. So, these are some of the reasons why the constitution became very bulky. So, first of all I said the framers, why, what are the reasons for bulkiness I am talking about. The framers had the experience of the working of all the non-constitutions in the world at that time, special provisions for scheduled tribes, no separate constitution for say. So, an elaborate reason for why the constitution is bulky. So, the first is a quasi-federal constitution, number two is one of the largest constitution in the world and it is quite bulky. Then a third salient feature of the Indian constitution is the constitution declares India as a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. So, That is the, that is salient feature of our Indian constitution. India, if you are asked somebody that what kind of India is it, we say it's a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Sovereign means we are not answerable to anybody. We have sovereign power. We are not guided by any outside power. We are free to decide on our people and the territory. Socialist, it's democratic socialism. I will be talking about socialism in another video properly. What is the socialism meant by, what is the Indian socialism? So, it's a democratic socialism. Democratic socialism. And secular, yes, India has no state religion. No state religion. It's a secular state. No state religion. Meaning, India, when the religion will not be allowed to interfere in the state matters, and the state will not interfere in the religious matters. Religion should be a private affair. Religion has no role in governance. It's a very bold step taken by India in 1940s and 50s, and we need to protect that. But unfortunately, things are not that easy these days. But if you move away, if you allow religion to play a role in the politics, it is going to be disaster for the country, there is no doubt. Europe has seen it, West Asia is seeing it, various parts of the world we are seeing it. So, we should not be taking that disastrous path at any cost. Then democratic, parliamentary democracy. The hallmark of Indian constitution is a democratic constitution. Democracy, the people's will has primacy in India. And finally, republic, the head of the country. Republic means the head of the state, the head of the country is an elected leader. This head is not a hereditary monarch. The head is not a king. An elected leader, democratically elected leader will be the head of the state. That is the meaning of, so India, Republic of India. So, this is about India. So, a constitution declares India as a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Then another hallmark of Indian constitution, number 4, is the balancing. There is a parliamentary, there is a checks and balances in the Indian constitution. Checks and balances in the Indian constitution. The parliament has the power to amend the constitution. Parliament can amend and add any part of the constitution, can amend the constitution. Parliament can amend the constitution, but there is judicial review, that is the power of the court. So, a balance between the judiciary and the legislature. The judiciary has the power, the Supreme Court has the power to declare any law invalid. This is called judicial review. The judiciary has the power to declare any law invalid. So, judiciary can declare any law invalid. Parliament can make a new law and judiciary can declare invalid. So, there is checks and balances in the Indian constitution. So, it will, why? Because constitution is supreme. If parliament can amend, yes, that is the need of our need of the society at that time, because society is changing. But that change should not be violating the supremacy of the constitution. Constitution is supreme and that will be decided by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court will say, yes, this amendment is not acceptable because it is a violation of the provision of the constitution. Supreme Court has even come up with the concept of basic structure of the constitution to ensure that our basic principles and basic ideals of our constitution is not violated by the parliament. Parliament has no unlimited power to change the constitution. Checks and balance is a great feature of the Indian constitution. Then we are also talking about the Indian constitution. Another salient feature is we have a unique blend of rigidity and flexibility. Unique blend of rigidity and flexibility in the constitution. Meaning, in certain places it is very difficult to change because we have, say, basic structure of the Indian, you cannot touch the basic structure of the Indian constitution. Supreme Court has made it very clear that the parliament cannot touch the basic structure of the constitution. But at the same time, there are provisions where the constitution can be amended even with a simple majority. So, there is a unique blend of rigidity and flexibility in the Indian Constitution. So that is another feature. So we were talking about checks and balances. Number 5 is rigidity and flexibility. Then number 6, another great feature of the Indian Constitution is the presence of the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights, one of the most elaborate fundamental rights in the world, similar to the Bill of Rights of the US Constitution. And these rights are non-negotiable for the citizens, so that the citizens can live up in full, he can grow to the full potential through the fundamental right. So fundamental rights are the most of the human rights. Most of the human rights under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights has been incorporated into the fundamental rights, and it is provided in the Constitution itself. The presence of fundamental rights, this is the most fundamental difference, or this is the most basic difference between the Government of India Act 1935 and the present Constitution. The most striking feature of the Government of India Act 1935 and the present Constitution is the presence of fundamental rights. It's a great thing, and India has the most elaborate of all, and we are all proud of our fundamental rights. Then comes the presence of directive principles of state policy. The directives to the states regarding the governance of the country in future. We have taken this idea from the Irish Constitution, and we have given certain guidelines to the future governments that how the government, what all should be achieved by the future governments, and in which direction we should move, so that we can achieve the established or the desired goals of the society. So we have an elaborate list of the directive principles of state policy. Is another salient feature of our Indian Constitution. And similarly, we have a federation. We have already seen a federation with strong centralizing tendency. I talked about the quasi-federal constitution. We have adult suffrage, universal adult suffrage. The people above the age of 18 all have the right to vote. We are all, we have given the right to participate in the governance of the country. No qualification, no educational qualification, no qualification whatsoever is required to participate in the electoral process. Then we have an independent judiciary. Independent judiciary is another salient feature of our Indian Constitution. We can talk about that elaborately. An integrated judiciary. We have Supreme Court, then we have High Court. We don't have a separate, no separate judiciary for states. No separate judiciary for the states. A salient feature. Then we have a single citizenship. Another salient feature is we don't have state citizenship, a single citizenship. We are all citizens of India. There is no separate mention about citizen of a state. But in US, you are not only the US citizen, you are also citizen of a state. So some privileges as a citizen of that particular state may be there, but we don't have that. A single citizenship. And as I was mentioning earlier also, another salient feature of our Indian Constitution is the presence of the fundamental duties, which is normally not found in any democratic constitution. Japan is the only exception where fundamental duties are found in a democratic constitution. So the presence of fundamental duties is another salient feature of our Indian Constitution. So these are some of the salient features. So the question is, you tell me something about the highlights of the Indian Constitution, some high points, some important points. So these are some of the high points of the Indian Constitution which can easily be boasted of. So this is about the salient features of the Indian Constitution.